stars Eric Bolling and Jesse Waters. It's 5 o'clock in New York City, and this is The Five. It was Ronald Reagan's 11th commandment, thou shalt not speak ill of any fellow Republican. But in today's political climate and with the stakes so high, that rule is being overlooked.
Donald Trump has zero foreign policy experience. Jeb Bush has no foreign policy experience, period. Ted Cruz has a little bit of foreign policy experience, and it's different than mine.
Governor Kasich, where he led the charge to expand Medicaid and is quite proud of it. I wouldn't be proud of that.
I've spent less money, and then you have other people like Jeb who spent more money than anybody else, and he's down toward the bottom of the pack. I hate to waste time on this guy because he's not going to win.
Can you imagine Donald Trump as President of the United States? We will be worse off than we are now, and we're really bad off right now.
The only way to beat Donald Trump is to highlight the simple truth of his record. It is not conservative.
With 9 days to go before the South Carolina primary, Republicans are sharpening their attacks, and many analysts warn of a political bloodbath before the voting starts. So, Kimberly, people ask, I know they ask you, I'm sure everyone at this table has been asked, why don't you want to run for public office? And my answer is, I always have some sort of dodge, but the true answer is, I don't think I could do that. I don't think I could attack, and I don't know if I could withstand the attacks.
Yes, you could.
I don't know.
I think so, Dana. Just with the one icy stare that you do in the pen tap, people would just freeze on the spot. I'm
I know I do.
You frightened bowling. It wasn't. People would be like, "Whoa, I'm dropping out of the race. I don't want none of that Perino after me." But look, we all were listening, and when Rubio was doing his thing, we were all kind of smile. It wasn't very forceful. It wasn't necessarily. He's not like an attack dog. More like a sweet little attack hamster.
We have a clip from him last night on Sean Hannity's show that I wanted to show because he's explaining why he did not go after Christine Kasich.
I wanted to avoid Republican on Republican violence. I didn't want to be on that debate stage screaming back and forth with another Republican, with Chris Christie at the time. I should have pivoted and talked about his record. But Sean, here's what I think and what I know, that when Republicans are doing this stuff to each other, the Democrats are sitting on the side just cheering. They love it.
Not interested in being out there and just going on the attack against somebody. When people go negative, it's because they got something they're not doing right to connect. And I'd rather be connecting and being positive.
Okay, our commentary was fabulous.
Can I bust you guys? Can I pull a...
let's start with her.
Okay, so Marco Rubio comes up, that side comes up, and Dana notices appropriately that Marco Rubio has a bit of a 5 o'clock shadow, and the three ladies on the set were...
I said nothing.
I heard it.
No, she was innocent.
Come on.
I was badly behaved. Dana was like, I don't know.
She said she gustos it.
She gustos it.
Me gusta mucho.
Anyway, back to the point at hand. Yes, because don't you have to attack?
I think you need to be true to yourself. And what feels like this is a kind of a negative season and everyone's trying to attack like Trump attacks, although Donald Trump has a tendency to counterpunch. But you need to be true to yourself. I think Donald Trump does it well. I think Chris Christie did it well. And I think Ted Cruz does it well, the attack or the counterpunch hard. When Marco Rubio or Jeb or John Kasich try it, it just feels out of place. Yeah. Jeb and Kasich are nice guys. They're nice people. For them to go on the attack, when Jeb goes on the attack against Trump, it just doesn't feel like he should be doing that. Marco Rubio, it feels like he's out of place when he does it too, because you look at him, you go, he's contemplative. He's a smart guy. You want to hear him say something really super smart rather than the attack. So I think you need to stay true to what your personality is.
Maybe you need to hire an assassin.
Literally hire an assassin.
If you can't
she just said she was too innocent. Now she wants to kill everyone.
Well, I couldn't do it myself. Hire Jesse. To be an
I
assassin.
think the Clintons have probably hired a few assassins down back in the day. I don't really like seeing.
Rumored.
I don't like seeing too much shooting inside the tent because I don't want to see the nominee limp out of the tent and then get smoked by Hillary. And in South Carolina, it's a jungle. You got some two Cubans running. You have some wives situations. You have some divorces. You have some high-profile kids. Anything is fair game out there, so it could get very ugly. Now, Trump, I think, is vulnerable to attack in South Carolina because Cruz can really come at him from the right. He can say he was for the bailouts. He can say he was pro-Obamacare, and he can hit him with that. Now, I think Donald Trump needs to hone the attack against Cruz and say, listen, forget the Canada stuff. We're not going to worry about that. But this guy is soft on illegal immigration, and he is not for waterboarding. And I think down in South Carolina with all those military guys, that's going to stick.
I think that his strongest argument is the economy. Anywhere. I think Trump's strongest. If you look at the exit polls from New Hampshire and Iowa, that people are just thinking, this is not working for me. My wages haven't gone up, but my costs have gone up. So that would be where I would stick to it, because you're right, on those other ones you might be vulnerable. Kirsten, the Republicans aren't the only ones that have been known to throw some sharp attacks at each other in a South Carolina primary, because it was in 2008 that, can you explain what happened in 2008 with the Clinton-Obama race?
Well, Bill Clinton said some things about Barack Obama that people took to mean that he was saying something racist. I'm not sure that that was totally
might not have been fair,
totally
but it
fair,
happened.
but it was taken that way. And I think that, look, I think there's a difference between making a contrast and going negative. So actually, I didn't have a problem with what Jeb Bush was saying. I mean, he's saying, I think he does have to go after the front runner to a certain extent. And then there are the negative attacks and sort of nasty, legendary kind of attacks that happen in South Carolina. Those are two different things. But also, part of the problem with South Carolina is it happens so fast, right? You have all this time in Iowa, all this time in New Hampshire, and then you go to South Carolina and you just don't have that much time. People have to be making these contrasts with each other so that people, have a reason to vote for you.
Do you think, Kimberly, that Sanders will finally decide to throw some attack ads towards Hillary Clinton?
Look, I mean, he's done quite well so far. Why wouldn't he? I mean, he's got to, like I said before, he's got to finish her off, I mean, he's got to get in there, and he wants to keep raising money. He did well the other night when he gave his speech and asked everyone, hey, I'm not going to hold, a big, fat cat Wall Street fundraiser. I'm going to do it right here, right now. And I'm asking everybody out there, if you can donate what you can, $20, $50, and the money came rolling in.
$6 million at $37 a pop.
Absolutely.
That is amazing.
That was the average?
And it's the number of donors, of individual donors. He says that he's exceeded the individual number of donors of any person, candidate running for the presidency in the United States. So it's pretty impressive and compelling. And if he wants to actually win, he is going to have to point out the facts about Hillary Clinton.
The other thing that, aside from the candidates attacking each other, and there's going to be a debate on Saturday night, so we'll probably see some of that there, but then behind the scenes, their campaigns, Eric, one of the things that Cruz was attacked for, kind of successfully, maybe a little bit, after Iowa by Donald Trump, was that there was a dirty trick against Carson, and that depressed the vote for others and all that. But so everyone's on notice in South Carolina that there could be some dirty tricks, including these sort of push polls where you are called and you're thinking you're doing a normal poll, and then let's say, well, then who are you going to vote for? And if you say Jeb Bush, they're like, oh, really? Well, did you know these 20 things about Jeb Bush? And it's called a push poll, considered very negative, but is all fair?
Well, I think
love and war.
Well, and Kirsten points out very importantly. So these candidates spend the better part of a year in Iowa and New Hampshire, just going back and forth between Iowa and New Hampshire. New Hampshire gets in the books, and they turn immediately, and they got 10 days to make it happen in South Carolina. So they do resort to dirty tricks. Also, listen. There's a super PAC out there that's going. It's a Republican. It's a former Mitt Romney deputy campaign staffer who has a super PAC that's explicitly for taking down Donald Trump. Anyone but Donald Trump. It's insane what's going on. You want to talk about violating Reagan's 11th commandment? Boy, that would be it. I just think that's not the way to go. You want to be attack? Go ahead, attack on the debate stage. Go ahead, put up your attack ads on TV. But to go after like this a super PAC, a disinterested super PAC, to go after one within the same GOP, it makes no sense to me.
But Donald Trump today said that conservatives were to blame for everything. So I mean, the 11th commandment, I think, is out the window for everybody at this point.
Well, I don't like, especially when Newt Gingrich, if you remember what he did to Mitt Romney, he went out and called the guy a vulture capitalist.
No, right.
And, all that does is help President Obama. So you don't want to ever attack someone from the left, especially from the far left, because then in the general, you're basically doing the opponent's work for them. And then to going with what Jeb Bush is saying, Jeb's been going after Donald Trump for his character and his temperament. Jeb's missed the boat. This country's angry, and they like that about Donald Trump. And now he's saying that Donald Trump's going to be worse than President Obama. It's just not even believable. I mean, this guy's like a dead man walking. He's going to get put out of his misery down there in South Carolina.
He's so smart, and he has such a great record in Florida as governor. The job numbers, all that. That's where he should be staying on. This attack stuff isn't working.
He doesn't wear it well.
Attacking Rubio just looks really gross to me.
Yeah.
I mean, they were buddies. In fact, Jeb was the guy pushing Rubio for Senate, and now all of a sudden he's attacking him, saying he hasn't done it.
Yeah, and he's saying he's soft on illegal immigration. Jeb's soft on illegal immigration.
Last word from Kimberly
say one last thing? On the sports field, whenever this stuff is going on, you just show the scoreboard. You don't trash talk if you're losing.
Yeah.
Just show the scoreboard.
Yeah, but there's a way to do it. There's a way to do it by talking about your experience and your specifics. And somebody like Jeb, who does have considerable experience, okay, and does have the endorsements of how many 34 generals and how many prior Medal of Honor winners, recipients. So focus on all those positives, because the other people can't put that in their column. What do you have in your column, in your asset, line that shows everybody why you should be chosen? So I think you can do that in a nice way, which is still statesmanlike and becoming of the office of the highest office in the land.
And he's got W down there now, too.
Hey,
yeah, but of course, the person who does the most trash talking is winning. Right.
Because he wears it well. Because he wears like a well-tailored suit on him. Whereas on Jeb and John Kasich.
Well, Jeb's
has
fought
thrown
back
the towel in
against
on that.
Trump, which he should. You can't just sit there and okay, turn the other cheek. You do it once, that's it, and that's enough for me. Now I'm going to hit you.
Coming up, Hillary Clinton won a big endorsement today from the political arm of the Congressional Black Caucus, but she doesn't have a firm grip on the African American vote. Sanders is fighting hard for it as well, and that key battle, we're going to talk about it ahead.
The Democratic nominee each presidential election. And that's why Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton are aggressively trying to secure their support. Today, Clinton scored a small win, the support of the political arm of the Congressional Black Caucus.
When we needed someone to come to rally Democrats, and especially African Americans, and at the request of the CBC PAC, Hillary Clinton has been there. CBC PAC, in its vote, with no votes for Mr. Sanders and 2 abstentions because of individuals' capacities and responsibilities, voted to make sure that we endorsed Hillary Clinton to be the Democratic nominee and the next president of the United States of America.
But when it comes to the Black Lives Matter generation, some analysts see an opening for Bernie Sanders.
For this younger generation of African Americans, 1,000 problems, 1,000 blessings. Their number one issue, mass incarceration, criminal justice. And they look at the Clintons' record on that, and they are infuriated. You're starting to see a bunch of young African Americans saying, hold on a second, you don't get a free pass based on what you did in the 90s.
All right, we're going to argue about it already. Okay, so Bowling.
No, that's what he said yesterday. He said that Bill Clinton was there when he instituted the reforms, the 3 strikes and you're out, where literally if you get caught selling weed 3 times, you can go to jail for life. I mean, that was, and it caused mass incarcerations, especially skewed towards the African American community, minority communities. That should be strike 1, and strike 2 for the Clintons should be the welfare reform that Bill Clinton also instituted, where you had to prove you were working to get welfare. Now, Barack Obama pulled that but it had been put on the books by the Clintons, and for some reason they still want to call Bill Clinton the first African American president. I don't know what that's all about. So take a step forward. The CBC, and Dana points this out, the CBC, Congressional Black Caucus, didn't endorse Hillary Clinton today. Their PAC did. Big difference, right?
Well, and the reason we make that distinction is because Congressman Keith Ellison tweeted this morning that he wanted to make sure that everybody knew that it was the PAC that was endorsing, and that he did not have input, that the Congressional Black Caucus itself had not endorsed that. That could turn out to be a distinction without a difference, but I just thought it was striking, and it was retweeted about 2,000 times, so making sure that everybody understands that there is a gap there.
Well, they're trying to make the points, because obviously some people were not so inclined to endorse Ms. Clinton.
I mean, Hillary thinks just because she married the first black president, she can be black. I don't think the black Americans are buying that. I was actually reading an article the other day. I think it was the Federalist or the National Review, one of your big articles.
Very nice.
That you like.
Done.
And they said,
Jesse, reading.
Bill Clinton. Yeah, I know. I like to
It's
read.
for everyone.
Only if there's pictures in the book. Bill Clinton plays the sax on Arsenio Hall with the shades and all that, and all black America loves him. But when you look, he locked up more black Americans than any other president. Crack sentences through the roof. So black America might be feeling the burn if they actually look at Bernie's policies.
But can we defend the Clintons on that just for a second?
Go for it.
Because,
be my guest.
I mean, the point of both welfare reform and the 3 strikes and you're outlaw was to help protect African American communities who are feeling under threat from the crack dealing and the threat of the fact that their children were being killed on the streets over drug deals. And welfare reform was something that, of course, all of us supported, which was to help people make it on their own.
But Hillary can't have it both ways. She
Right.
can't come in 20 years later and say, let's reduce crack sentences and let's
agree.
bring back the welfare state.
I'm on the forefront of making sure mass incarcerations go down. Well, criminal justice reform. She was there, and she was instituted. She was pressing that.
Yeah.
She just wasn't in the White House at the time. She was on the trail, on the talk shows, pushing the 3 strikes and you're out reforms.
Oh, I very well remember when it went on the books when I was a prosecutor, and that came on. That was during their time. So now what do they say?
Yeah, I think the defense they give, it's not a defense I necessarily buy. The defense they give is, this was what it was like, and we were working with Republicans, and there was only so much you could do. But I don't think this generation buys that. And I think that the other thing is, so she gets this endorsement. Okay, great. Is anybody questioning whether she has the establishment behind her? Of course she has the establishment behind her. This is now a campaign where there are a lot of people who don't want an establishment person. You see it on the right and you see it on the left. And so, I think probably people expect some more of the older African Americans, like older white people, to vote for Hillary. But where Sanders could start to maybe chip away is with younger African Americans, college educated students who, they're much going to be just as open to his message as white young people are. There's no reason that they wouldn't be. And I think it's right. They're very upset about the criminal justice reform. And Michelle Alexander, who wrote a book called The New Jim Crow, who is kind of the Bible of the Black Lives Matter movement, she came out and wrote today in The Nation, why black people shouldn't support Hillary Clinton. And it was all about this issue.
The key word that I think that the youth like, both white or black or brown or whatever, is revolution. And Bernie Sanders is calling for something new and different. They don't want anything in the old. And so that is also hard. It's very difficult for any party to elect somebody that is of the generation behind them.
And they don't have a connection to the Clintons.
Because Obama was new, and so then to go back then to an older baby boomer is very unusual for a party to do, although Sanders seems to be defying that. The other thing I would say is everything that this tells me is that the Republicans have an opening here, and they should redouble efforts to talk to young people of every race to say that economic policy matters. We have a better approach that can help you in your life. That democratic socialism is not the way to go.
That's exactly the message that should be resonating. Try it out in South Carolina. All right, well, this isn't the race the Clinton campaign expected, is it? She certainly isn't the inevitable nominee anymore. Even the liberal media is starting to notice troubles with her campaign. That's next on The Five.
And her team's already conceding that Nevada will be a tough fight. So could she lose the nomination again? The mainstream media isn't ruling out the possibility.
Everything that could go wrong or be in a bad place in a Clinton campaign is going wrong with her campaign right now.
Bill Clinton is freaking out the most. Watching him watch her these last few days when they've been campaigning together, because previously he was on his own and as a surrogate, just watching his face, he could not mask the recognition that she's going to lose.
This nostalgia for the 90s is over. It's a different party.
Of course, if you ask Howard Dean, everything's just fine.
I see absolutely no evidence that their campaign is in disarray. I think that's Washington talk.
It's not Washington
talk.
That's New Hampshire talk.
I actually
That's
talked with the campaign.
That's talk from everybody around the Clintons.
Yeah,
that's talk everywhere but you.
No,
I'm just telling you.
Everybody around the Clintons is what wrecked her campaign the last time. I wouldn't pay any attention to any of those people from last time.
So, Daniel, what is he talking about?
Howard Dean? Well, I actually tweeted right before the show to tease the show so people could watch, because I knew we were going to have this block, and I was excited to talk about it, because as soon as you have an ally like Howard Dean, who's at a table amongst journalists, right? So he's the ally of the campaign, he's the Democrat, and he's saying, oh, no, her campaign's not in disarray. That is a sure sign that the campaign is in disarray. It's like when a cabinet member is in trouble, and at the White House every day you have to say, the president has full confidence in Secretary so-and-so. I think that Andrea Mitchell in particular seems to think that there is a big problem. She's been covering this for so long. She knows them very well. She covered Hillary Clinton at the State Department, and I'm sure the email thing probably gets to her because that was happening while she was a reporter covering the State Department, and right under her nose, finding out that there was this huge scandal.
Yeah, I mean, and I've talked to people who are, close to the Clinton campaign, and it's what I've heard jives with everything that they're saying, which is that they are concerned, that they feel that they should have had a better strategy for taking out Bernie Sanders sooner. They underestimated the threat, which sounds familiar. They did that with Obama. And, in Clinton style, they probably won't fire anybody. They'll just bring in some people and put them over other people. But, it was interesting what Andrew Mitchell was saying, that Bill Clinton was saying, oh my gosh, she might lose again. I mean, Eric, do you really think that that's what they're thinking, that she might lose?
Well, I think Andrea Mitchell pointed out what people have been pointing out for a few days now, that Bill Clinton, you can see him walking around like with that look, like, wow. Here's the thing though, Hillary Clinton has one speed. She's unemotional. It's incredible. She just got thumped by 22 points, and she came out with the same campaign speech after. Bill Clinton, who's a great politician, would come out and say, he'd be a little humble. He'd be saying, we have to, rethink this. We have to turn some knobs, fix this thing, change the recipe a little bit. And he would be a little bit sad, and you feel the emotion. She doesn't have a heart. She has that same speed.
Doesn't have a heart. Doesn't have a heart.
No,
Show.
yeah, right. She clearly has a heart because she's alive, but she doesn't have heart.
Thank you.
She doesn't have substance to her. Like everyone else in the world has highs and lows, and she's monotone in that same speed, and it's annoying.
I think you're right. I mean, she is an empty pantsuit. There's nothing beneath the surface there. She's losing to a socialist. That just shows how far left the Democratic Party has gone and how terrible of a candidate she is.
Well, they definitely have moved to the left. If you look at the exit polls, there's no question you have far more people identifying as very liberal, far fewer moderates, but that would also argue that her message isn't resonating with them, right? I mean, it isn't about her being a, quote, empty pantsuit necessarily. It's more about the fact that Sanders has a message that they want to hear, right?
Well, he has a message that's resonating, that all these individual, contributors are jumping in on and throwing cash at. They like what they're hearing. They're not trusting Hillary Clinton at all. That is one of the big things that we've seen over and over again in the polling. And yes, she has a messaging problem. And guess what? People that know the Clintons well know that they have a problem. Dana, we brought up just the other day about David Axelrod.
Yeah, I was just actually wrote that down.
Go ahead, love.
No, go ahead.
And the tweet that went out, at a certain time when you have seen the same problems in a campaign happening again, you've got to look at the principles.
Right? Is it us?
Can I give you a little bit like a sports analogy?
Please hit me.
When you're in the zone, when you're in the zone, doesn't matter what sport you're playing basketball, you're hitting 3-point shots, you're hitting the baseball. You can almost do nothing wrong. Everything is going right.
See the ball.
Bernie Sanders is in the zone, but what that does, it puts the other team. They press. The other team tries everything. Let's try this, and she's searching for the thing, and she can't find it. She's trying income inequality, women's issues. She just can't find that thing to hang her hat on and go with it. Bernie's got it.
It's almost a mirror image of what's happening on the Republican side, where you have experienced people who know this game. They've done all of these things, and they're like, "Wait, pay attention to me." Is that she seems to be frustrated. But the other thing is, I think that the young Democrats are going to get really mad when they start to realize how the game is fixed for Hillary Clinton on the delegate portion of how they do super delegates, so that even though Hillary Clinton lost so badly in New Hampshire, she comes out of New Hampshire with more delegates than Bernie Sanders. So the fix is in, and all those young people, I think, when they finally realize that the DNC will have even more problems on its hand.
Personally, I just feel so sad for Hillary Clinton. She's such a tragic figure. You have Lewinsky, and then you have Obama stealing the election last time, and now look, Sanders is going to do it again. Maybe the FBI this time. I mean, this woman can't win.
She hasn't actually lost yet, just to be clear.
It seems like it.
We've only had 2 states.
But she did lower expectations in Nevada.
Yeah.
Just today, they were trying to say, well, Nevada might not work for us. So.
Right. Okay, well, we'll see.
We'll see.
Still to come, the fastest 7. But first, Iran celebrated the anniversary of its Islamic Revolution today by reenacting the capture of our sailors and released new propaganda video from the actual incident. Details next when the 5 returns.
Chants were still loud and clear. Death to America, death to Israel. So anti-American sentiment hasn't waned since the nuke deal. But according to our administration, the country is showing us kindness now. Remember? It freed our sailors and treated them so well.
I'm appreciative for the quick and appropriate response of the Iranian authorities. All indications suggest or tell us that our sailors were well taken care of.
Continuing their propaganda stunt, Iran released new footage of yesterday's sailors in tears. Some Republican presidential candidates are irate.
This is a signal around the world that we're not serious anymore, that we're not going to stand up for our values or stand up for our people. And the next President of the United States needs to restore the sense that there's severe consequences for capturing American sailors.
It is disgraceful and it defies words. Only Barack Obama and John Kerry would thank Iran for capturing and trying to humiliate American sailors. That image of our sailors on their knees will come to encapsulate the failures of the Obama-Clinton foreign policy. It is the direct result of weakness.
Eric Bolling, I think if President Obama was president in the 1930s, he'd probably thank the Japanese for bombing Pearl Harbor. What do you think?
Should I agree with that or not?
Yeah.
And don't forget, this is a regime we just handed, or we're in the process of handing over $100 billion of money that they say is theirs. I say that we should never have done that. We should never have done this deal. And for them to recreate the capture of our sailors and like hold the guns to their heads. Look, the reason why they're doing it is because they can, and they've done it, and they continue to do it, and they continue to do it more. Most people who would be afraid of the United States retaliation wouldn't do that. Remember when Ronald Reagan got into office, and all of a sudden 2 days later, all the hostages were released from Iran? Well, they didn't want to deal with Ronald Reagan. They don't mind dealing with Barack Obama because frankly, they're not afraid he probably won't do anything. And when John Kerry says, thank you very much for giving our soldiers, our sailors back, it's crazy.
Why doesn't President Obama project American power, Kimberly?
He doesn't have it in him.
You know, the Chinese hack us, we do nothing. You know, ISIS runs wild, we do nothing, we take it easy on them. You know, the Iranians spit in our face, Obama's golfing. Why isn't he showing any anger?
Soft like brie cheese, which is tasty. Don't get, I don't know about him, but that's how he is. My point is that he doesn't have it in him. This is not a tough guy. This is someone that wants to speak in like glowing, flowing terms and talk about this as like one world together. He's not into American exceptionalism. It's contrary to his view. He's more interested in getting aggressive about global warming and climate change. That's where he is. This is a man that has unfortunately allowed this country and our military, to be humiliated. And has stood by and allowed Christians to be beheaded. And look at the Yazidis. I mean, where is this like forceful, strong leader that is well respected in the United States that we are accustomed to as a country, like someone like we were talking about, like Ronald Reagan?
Kimberly, Powers, you're a Democrat. You can't defend this guy. I mean, this is an embarrassment as an American.
I could defend him on plenty of things, but not on this. But to be fair, John Kerry did come out and say he was furious after when they did this reenactment.
Oh, Kerry's furious.
The question is,
he's going to sail over there.
But they should have been furious in the first place. It is more infuriating now, but it was infuriating when it first happened, and it was a humiliation. There's no getting around that. So I think, I personally never thought because we did a deal with them that they were going to start behaving well. That wasn't, I don't think that's a real expectation. I think you do deals with your enemies. That's the whole point. But this is a really, this is something that I agree. He should be angry, and it's one of his failings is that when things happen that make most Americans angry, that he's just very cool.
This doesn't really smell right to me. You have the president getting, embarrassed all over by these Muslim countries. He's giving these Muslim countries billions of dollars. He's apologizing to the Muslim world, and he's bringing up the Crusades all the time. Something's fishy about this guy.
Also, something strange about that video. So if our soldier is crying, or our sailor is crying, so what was making him cry? That's what I'd want to know.
Propaganda. They probably gave him onions or something.
Well,
like that.
The other thing is, I think if I could put President Obama on the psychiatrist's couch for a moment, I think that he thinks of this as just a blip on the radar screen. It's a comma in the history books, whereas he wants to be a transformational president. He's thinking of his legacy, that he's reshaped the Middle East, he's changed American foreign policy. There's a genocide in Syria, but he's changed American foreign policy, leading from behind is the new way to go. So I think what's happened is he strengthened the hardliners. He gave away our leverage, including the money. So now they get to run roughshod over.
Well, why wouldn't you? If you're going to punish me like that, bring it on. $100 billion and let me do whatever I want. I can develop nukes. Come on.
Yeah, we should tie up some Iranians and, maybe get a little payback. Next, who does Bernie Sanders best? Jimmy Fallon's now busting out his own Sanders impersonation, but does it beat out Larry David's spot on Spoof? You decide ahead.
The fastest 7 minutes on television, 3 vivid stories, 7 velocious minutes, 1 vehement host.
I don't know.
First up, we all know Larry David does a spot-on Bernie Sanders impression. Now let's take a look at Jimmy Fallon feeling the burn. Who does a better Bernie? We report, you decide.
I'm Bernie Sanders, and this microphone isn't even on. I'm speaking tonight to claim victory in the New Hampshire primary over She Who Must Not Be Named. We won, and I feel like $1 million. $1 million, which of course means I will now evenly distribute myself among the middle class.
All right, KG, pretty darn good Bernie Sanders from Fallon.
He is pretty good. I mean, now we've got a lot of material to work with, so I wonder if like Kimmel's going to do it next. But I mean, Larry David is still so awesome.
Do you like David better?
I think he's perfect. I do like it that Fallon had the hand gestures
And the
because it looks
shoulders.
like he's playing the piano as he talks
Kirsten?
all the time.
I think it's a tie for me.
It's a tie.
I thought Fallon was good.
Take a stand. Come on.
Right.
Way to be bold.
Flip a coin.
He's got the shoulders better, I think, like kind of the
Yeah, he's got the
hunchiness.
physical mannerisms down.
Correct.
You're talking Fallon.
Fallon does,
Yeah.
but I
but
think
Larry David,
Larry
man, he
David's got
looks
better
like him.
material.
And
Well, that's because he
better-
looks like he's the same age.
All right. All right. Well, speaking of impressions, Johnny Depp doing Donald Trump. Funny or Die posted this video, almost an hour long. Here's a nugget.
Let me tell you who I've talked to so far this week.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. I can build you a much nicer one.
Sue them, Jerry. Konnichiwa, sensei. Sue them!
Merv, you have got to change your mind about the Taj Mahal. I mean, but don't change it too soon because we need that tension in the plot.
All right. Larry, stop the montage.
Successful people are always on the phone, even if there's no one on the other end.
All right. A short bit would have been funny. Funny or Die. Jess, too much. Did you like it?
I thought it was all right. I mean, it was an hour long. I can't get through it, but that clip was pretty funny. I think the media, especially the entertainment industry, is secretly rooting for a Trump presidency because 4 years of this guy. I mean, that's just comedy gold right there. I mean, I don't know. I mean, what happens if Hillary's elected? You know, I guess it's funny that Bill is back in the White House. You know, the interns are going to go wild, but I mean, that's the only thing that's funny.
Dana,
Oh my
Johnny
God.
Depp doing Donald Trump. Does everyone think they can do a Donald Trump?
Well, no one does it well. I really think that he is so funny and entertaining on his own. And that I think is part of the reason he's done so
good.
well. It's not just that it's the revolution part of, burn it all down for the establishment. I also think that if you have a voice like that and presence and an ability to entertain, people are going to want to listen to you. So I just think everybody else has been a pale imitation.
I'm a fan of Daryl Hammond's SNL.
I don't like it. I don't think it's
that
good
one?
enough.
Which one do you like?
Fallon's pretty good.
You like the Fallon?
Yeah, and I think they have good energy, like chemistry together when they go on. It's very funny.
But Dana's right.
nobody's
Donald
like better
Trump
than
is-
Donald Trump.
He's
as
funnier
Donald
when
Trump.
he's being funny on
Just-
SNL than anyone.
Or just like in normal
Mimic
talking,
it.
just normal when he's at a rally. I watch him and he holds the whole crowd. It's hilarious.
Kirsten.
Yeah, I mean, just having a press conference, the way he says China or whatever. You know what I mean? Like
You
just
pay
says-
attention.
Yeah, he's funny, but scary, but funny.
All right, back to the Tonight Show. Peyton Manning joined Jimmy post-Super Bowl win. Fallon asked Peyton why his brother Eli, who was in the stands cheering on his big brother, well, what was up with Eli's face?
I've seen that look before. I recognized it. At some other big moments in my life, he kind of had that similar expression. I could remember-
We actually have a cutout here of that.
18 years ago, like calling the night before the draft, said, Eli, guess what? The Colts are going to draft me #1 in the NFL draft tomorrow. Almost 5 years ago, Eli, Ashley and I are expecting twins. You're going to be an uncle.
Now, Dana, I'm going to go to you this, but I will tell you, watching Eli Manning play, and we go to a lot of Giants games here, he's like this. He throws a touchdown pass, he's here. He throws an interception, he's here. He's a steady Eddie, but two different styles. Steady Eli.
That's cute.
Peyton.
So apparently, the reason he's had that face was because he was analyzing the next play. Okay, so
If they were going for the
that's-
2-point conversion or not.
Right. I mean, obviously you would.
Right, like you know what
in
you're
that.
talking about. Do you even know who played in the Super Bowl?
Hello. You don't watch enough of the five. What was I going to say that was so funny? Oh, you know what it reminded me of? Remember the picture of Joe Biden that went around on the internet for so long, and he was looking out of the Oval Office, and everybody would put a little caption there? It was like that for me. I love those.
Jesse, your thoughts on Peyton and Eli?
Yeah, I mean, Eli's just bad because now his brother's got 2 Super Bowl rings. That was the one thing he had on his older brother. Now they're tied, so he's always lived in a shadow. I thought you were going to show the video of Peyton smashing the eggs.
So they said, let's do Peyton Manning on Fallon. I'm like, oh, that's great with the egg roulette.
Yeah, egg roulette.
That was hilarious.
And then
yeah, but if Peyton retires, Eli's got his shot. He can, be Serena Williams.
Wait, what's egg roulette?
Okay, so it's a carton of eggs, and some of them are hard-boiled and some of them are raw, and you pick an egg and you smash it on
You should
your
do
egg.
that on the show.
That should be our next competition after sledding.
Oh, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad.
Okay, but she's going to show us the video. Okay.
We have that? Oh, there it is.
There it is.
And so he lost.
Yeah, actually,
That'd be fun. I would definitely do that. If Gutfeld lost, it would be the best.
There's 3 raw eggs in there. Whoever gets 2 first loses. Kirsten.
I know even less about sports or the Mannings.
What do you know about eggs?
I had an unfortunate incident in a kitchen one time with someone making me breakfast and an egg.
And eggs?
Memorable.
We should probably go now. One more thing up next.
Who was it?
This morning got real early, and I met with the publishers of a new book. Take a look at the picture. They put this mock cover up. Ooh. That's the book. They're extremely excited. It's going to be very political, very provocative, and it's going to publish 4th of July, just in front of the big 2016 election, so we're really looking forward to it.
Wake up, America!
Wake up, America! Thank you, KG. Thanks. I'm new at this.
I think I woke everyone up.
I'm very new at this.
Yeah, you got to tell
really
people what the title is.
Yeah.
Wake Up America. KG.
All right, thank you so much. So I want to take a moment because this was a very difficult week for law enforcement with the shooting deaths of 5 on-duty officers. And we want to hear more positive stories about officers. They put their lives on the line for us. But you know what? They're always giving back to their communities, not only protecting people and taking public safety as their #1 priority, but these 3 Ohio police officers, Drew Jones, Travis Moyers, and Jeremy Ohl of the Laughlin Police Department in Ohio, gave a new basketball hoop to some neighborhood kids. They saw these kids playing basketball, and they had one that was like missing a backboard. So they took it about themselves to go out and get that, put it up so that these kids could have that neighborhood to play in. And it's such a wonderful thing. So I want to commend them for doing that. It's very special. And of course, the chief there said this was something that was just basically from their hearts, which is very sweet.
Nice.
So thank you so much, officers.
All right. I am going to Savannah tomorrow, Savannah Book Festival, and I wasn't even going to mention the name of my book, but I will because we just chastised Eric for not doing that. So it's called, and the good news is the Savannah Book Festival is going to be great. I'm excited because Eric Larson, who is a wonderful author and wrote Devil in the White City. If you haven't read that, it's great. It's Chicago. It's about Chicago. And he has a new book called The Lusitania. And there's like about 40 authors there. My presentation is on Saturday at 2:50 p.m. Trinity United Methodist Church in Savannah, which is a beautiful city to visit, and I get to see Jasper tomorrow too.
Oh.
That's really the reason I'm happy. Just kidding, Jesse. I hear you have a very good one more thing for us.
Let's set the expectations low. So tonight on Water's World on the O'Reilly Factor, after the New Hampshire primary, I went out and asked people who won. Take a look. Who won last night?
Who won what?
I did not see the game last night. The Islanders.
He don't look too good.
Yeah. Oh, you're talking about last night's game, the Knicks?
It's something political. I don't know what's going on.
Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump.
Yes! Yes!
Do you know where New Hampshire is around?
Of course.
Where's that?
Somewhere in Long Island.
What is wrong with you?
There you go. Tonight, Water's World.
That was a good one.
Thank you.
Thank you for playing. Kirsten.
Okay, so like Dana, I'm an obsessive dog mom, and so I was excited to see this video about in Brooklyn, there's a new place called Dog Parker, and when you're out shopping and you want to just have your dog have a nice place to stay, this is air conditioned and it's monitored.
Air conditioned.
Yes, and you can leave your dog in there, and it's like a pay by the minute kind of thing. Great investment.
Let me tell you, Jasper would never go in there. Jasper would not go in there. I don't
Normal
think.
with my dog.
That is so
What if
so scary.
It's not scary because
I mean, it's a great business idea. Don't get me wrong.
If you live in Brooklyn and you're walking around and you don't want to tie your dog up outside, it's a great way to be able to.
There's going to be homeless
here.
people sleeping in those.
You
in a
could
few
actually
hours.
do that in Washington, D.C., but I don't see anyone really doing it here.
It's in Brooklyn, and I think people are doing it.
All right, way to go, Brooklyn.
Okay,
and the new
Brooklyn.
company.
Do that
All
in
right.
New York, it'd be stolen in 5 seconds.
Brett Baer is going to love us.
Watch.
Again tonight.
Again.
All right, set your DVRs. Never miss an episode of The Five. That's it for us. Special Report is next.
Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders prepare for a debate in an